Good day. This is the sworn testimony of AniKaspar on 5/16/2017 at approximately 10:11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please note that everything detailed in the sworn testimony has been confirmed by independent sources and resources with forensic evidence as well as with extensive research via experts in this arena. The reason for my recording today is because for now more than a month I have been assaulted with military-grade directed energy weapons by whom I cannot tell you. Sophie, stop. Stop. Pardon me. Maybe I'll just pause. And although I have communicated with a number of entities, political representatives, human rights organizations, as well as with the UN, about this month of torture, nothing has changed. The torture has become a wee bit smaller, however, it continues. And this level of attack of radiation and electromagnetic frequencies leads to very severely ill health, and in my case, most probably to cancer, which has already happened here on my forehead, and I already had breast cancer. In 1997, when I was a named plaintiff for the landmark gender discrimination class action Cremens et al. Versus Merrill Lynch, I received a death threat via AOL Instant Messenger that said, "Shut up or be shut up." I believe at the time this was sent to me by the same entities who perpetrated this human trafficking contract against my person as initially some level of blacklisting for a whistleblower or retaliation against a whistleblower. I had at the time had been doing pretty strenuous public relations and press work to try to bring our matter to the attention of the press worldwide, because it was a very, very significant matter. We had outreach in only one division to more than 10,000 people, women, and we had a response rate of 3,000 women. That's virtually unheard of in any class action, and I was the first to be settled with out of that entire action. I believe primarily because I had secured a book contract, and I had also secured a ghostwriter, a very well-known journalist as a ghostwriter. However, from that electronic message from AOL, instant message, anonymous instant message from AOL, a copy of which I still have, on, my life started to become very odd. What I can refer you to is the letter, the link to the letter to the UN that is listed below, so that you understand the level of 360 surround sound infiltration and operational attack of my life. This includes lawless surveillance, stalking, harassment, as well as now very comprehensive torture. But in the CIA's own raw data document leaks, this is called a life misfortune program, and it is pretty generally perpetrated against activists of any kind that go against the stated social engineering objectives of the oligarchy that our country functions as at this juncture. Of course, I had no idea this is what was happening. I just thought at the time that I was having a wild spate of very bad luck, and that there was a certain element of it that would be retaliation, and that my career would forever be marred by my action. But there really was no choice, because the discrimination against women at Merrill Lynch at the time was just epic. It was absolutely surreal in scope. And when we were able to see the class-wide statistics it was beyond surreal. It was very clear that the systemic discrimination and sexual harassment that occurred at Merrill Lynch over a very long period of time. Merrill had been sued already in a class action in 1982 and had not changed its ways by 1997, that this was a perpetual problem at the firm. And because of the lack of fiscal responsibility that myself and many other um, female professionals saw, not only at Merrill Lynch but at other firms, we believed that it was incumbent upon us to do something, because women had a much greater tendency to be a lot more financially responsible with their clients' assets. This 21st century Zersetzung, which is what I now know it is, unleashed upon me from 1997 until about 2004-5, just a steady confluence of odd community, electronic, travel, and other life event matters that just it's statistically impossible in a random event process for so many matters to have so many problems, which with the majority of the sectors of life sectors have never had these kinds of problems. But again, I was unaware of the level of program that was being perpetuated against me. And I, what was I going to say? Merrill Lynch took a contractual hit on me. I mean, it's the kind of thing that rational, logical people really don't lend their mind to. And rational, logical people simply try to move on and do the best that they can with what is on their terrain. However, by 2005, the latter part of August of 2005, when I was diagnosed with very extensive breast cancer and my governmental COBRA insurance was immediately canceled, I then knew something was very seriously up, because by that time I had begun to see that it was truly statistically impossible for there to be so many outrageously difficult life events by that time in an 8-year period, and consistently severe stressors, and consistently bizarre, what I can only call community harassment, or what we now call in the world organized stalking, where basically everyone in your workplace, not everyone, but too many, in your neighborhood, in your community, is been given some kind of red flag about you, and libel has been perpetrated, slander, defamation. But these individuals are all paid to harass you, to torture you, and to basically destroy your life. And it became very clear to me when the US government canceled my health insurance for no reason whatsoever, and there was no recourse, that there was something gravely amiss. Part of the strategy of these, what they're called takedown programs or life misfortune programs, is to impoverish you. So, of course, if I have a diagnosis of 14 breast cancer spots, and suddenly my insurance is canceled, and yet all my doctors around me are saying, you must have a double mastectomy immediately, you must do dense dose chemotherapy for 9 months, you must have radiation, you must. And I was already disabled. I had not applied for disability because I was living on my money. But I was already disabled with chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, very severe migraines, and a few other issues. So I knew very well my body would not be able to tolerate that type of quote-unquote treatment. And instead, I employed the dollars that I did have to try to save my life toward natural methods. Natural methods are very, very successful and have been the world over for a very long time. And I'm a living testament to that. It has been 11 years since I first, actually 12 years since I was first diagnosed, 12 years this August. And without doing any of those aggressive therapies, I am still here. but in employing natural methods, because they're not covered in America at all by health insurance, and now I had a pre-existing condition, so it took 6 months for me to even get health insurance. I spent about $150,000 of my monies simply trying to turn the cancer around. Because I had been given a diagnosis in 1997 of chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, I had then, because the medical community in the United States had absolutely no reparative treatments, I had already spent something like $100,000 prior to the diagnosis of cancer. I'm getting hit right now with directed energy weapons. I can tell because I'm getting dizzy, and the floor is shaking. So basically, the diagnoses that I was given from 1997 through 2005 essentially bankrupted my person. And by 2008, I was forced to put everything in storage because disability, which I had applied for by February of 2008, after my then oncologist told me I had terminal cancer, and now it was simply a matter of time before the cancer declared itself through my body. I was forced because the Social Security Administration was not approving my immediate Social Security, even though I had paid over $1.5 million in taxes in my working days from the age of 16 on. In packing up everything into storage, I was forced to take a job in Puerto Rico with an organization that, unbeknownst to me, was notoriously unstable. And I found within 3 months of being there, it was very unstable for me as well. And so I left the firm and started my own business and wrote a book called Pelicans, Coconuts, and Butterflies: Conquering Cancer with a Life of Soul. I should say that there were many operatives, and I have no other noun to describe what these people would be, uh, because there's just no other explanation for them. There were many operatives up until this point in the latter part of 2008 that kind of like, it's called false rescue, kind of like positioned me to get in even a less protected area of the world, where these programs could be rolled out very aggressively. And that's exactly what happened to me when I moved to Puerto Rico. For my first several years there, I was fairly safe, but I had already learned through the community stalking. And again, I didn't have terminology for this, so this was just an instinctual response. I had learned to basically isolate myself and to be very, very careful about who I allowed in my life, because there was just this continual like perpetration. It was very odd. But by 2011, just as myself and a partner of mine in Puerto Rico were to begin to do retreats and had some very good success with some clients, this life misfortune program by April of 2011 took on a very, very aggressive and assaultive hue, and suddenly I was surrounded by operatives, agents. I know, but this has been confirmed by a wide variety of very reputable folks, as well as private investigators and specialists in this field, that this is exactly what happened to me. And one of the main operatives ended up so destroying my life via domestic violence and crazy chaos, and the introduction of criminals into my home to steal things, and the destruction of my things and my car. I mean, it was just unbelievable. That from early 2011, here in the plains, yes. See, I'm real-time monitored as well, so whenever I'm doing something, that whomever these people are, and I would suggest you go to the ACLU page, Spy Files, to understand that fusion centers in the United States, at least, and a combination of the intelligence agencies, as well as the military and law enforcement and other community organizations are at the crux of the perpetration of these crimes against humanity. Sorry. But by the end of 2013, I had been made almost homeless, had no monies to live on, had been misdirected by Social Security many times, and was in a position of complete breakdown on every level. And in fact, unbeknownst to me at the time, directed energy weapons had been used on me since the summer of 2011, when massive chem spraying was about 3 months old in Puerto Rico, and many, many people were becoming very ill. I was given a heart attack by one of these weapons on December 9th of 2013. I was not treated in the emergency room, just as I was not treated in any emergency room since 2011 in what one could possibly call an adequate responsible medical manner. In fact, the level of medical fraud and abuse that goes on within these programs against innocent individuals is absolutely concentration camp worthy. It's just outrageous. I was forced to return to the United States because I was told by the Social Security Administration that I had to come back to the United States to fix my Social Security. I had been granted only SSI because, quote unquote, I missed my date of last insured by a short period. Now, given the fact that I had paid so much in taxes, had used my own money to survive for a 10-year period, when I had been told by my attending physicians in 1997 to apply for full disability, I found this to be outrageous. I was never told that I could simply reapply in Puerto Rico and that I could stay in Puerto Rico and my life would be fine there. This caused me great, great, great hardship and outrageous torture. Upon returning to the United States in June of 2014, I found that once again I had been handled by a wide variety of operatives all the way out of Puerto Rico back into the United States. And when I tried to report what was happening to me to the Human Rights Commission in Ithaca, New York, justice was obstructed. I was prevented from doing so over and over again. When I attempted to report what was being done to me illegally and lawlessly, which are without doubt crimes against humanity, because the entire event is meant to destroy you, to make you penniless in the streets, and then just, I guess, you become a drug addict or something. I'm not exactly sure how this works, but I've also been told by reputable and knowledgeable experts in the field that the majority of activists for human, civil, and constitutional rights, at least in the United States, have had to weather these types of programs pretty consistently. And in fact, there is one estimate that more than 1/3 of homeless people in the United States are human, civil, or constitutional rights activists. The level of perpetration and crimes against humanity perpetrated against me from June 2014 until this date is surreal beyond imaginings in 4 states, and became extremely aggressive here in Florida on November 9, 2016, when President Trump was elected. From that moment on, the wild noise harassment from the sky, from drive-bys, from neighbors, I mean, you cannot imagine. On average, I counted for 2 months before reporting anything. So we're talking 3 months, November, December, January. On average, 20 noise events. Noise events, meaning not just simple, like I'm in a very quiet neighborhood. That is outrageous torture alone. And of course, you're being subjected to a wide variety of electrical devices as well. I also had to complain finally at the end of January 18th, 2017, to the FAA and a few others about the chem spraying and how sick I was being made every time this occurred. Of course, the FAA denied that this even occurred, and I have copious evidence and documentation of everything that I have spoken here about that I am ready to submit to whatever lawyer is ready to take this case on behalf of myself and other similarly situated women particularly. And I say that because the vast majority of individuals who are illegally listed and then subjected to severe surveillance, stalking, harassment, and torture by military-grade weapons are women. In fact, some estimates are as high as 70% of all individuals illegally placed and lawlessly placed in these crimes against humanity programs for who knows, are women. Single women, very talented women, very brilliant women, very conscientious, ethical, and moral women. But by January 18th, after I had made a decision to begin to work on behalf of this community, it is often called the targeted community, after rationally and objectively and logically reviewing by that time about 6 years of very, very consistent program operation and perpetration against my person, confirmation from a wide variety of disparate sources and experts that had no knowledge of each other. It was really clear to me that I had to do something because still Social Security, which I won't go into, continued to defraud me of my true Social Security. The IRS had been harassing me and had defrauded me and lied about my earnings for 25 years. It's just outrageous what these programs do to a human being. Upon beginning to work on behalf of this community to secure simply their human rights, to get them delisted, and to secure class counsel for them, my life became a hell zone 24/7. However, with community stalking, harassing, nonstop noise campaigns, chemtrails, sewer treatment plant emissions, on and on and on. Uh, Jiving with my bank account, jiving with my health care coverage, on and on. But by March 18th, I had filed on behalf of myself and a good, strong group of individuals with the United Nations High Commission on Human Rights a request for immediate intervention and investigation. And from that moment on, life became held to the 10th power. And on April 14th, right after myself and a colleague filed requests with Senator Marco Rubio's office here in Florida for intervention on behalf of our programs via the fusion centers and their players, Department of Homeland Security, FBI, CIA, NSA, Air Force, Army, military, everybody who is a part of these fusion center programs. Within an hour of filing those documents, the very aggressive directed energy programs commenced. And I have been diagnosed by 3 separate individuals with radiation poisoning, and they have not ceased since. Pretty much they are a 24/7 program, and if you have any questions about them, I would urge you to spend time researching directed energy weapons. These are weapons, they are warfare weapons. They are turned against civilians throughout the world for whatever reasons, because it appears that these weapons are out of control of the military. We're not exactly sure who it is that perpetrates these crimes against humanity and these severe, severe assault crimes. But it always seems to be the same perpetrators throughout the world, because the commonality of claims that we, the lawlessly, illegally listed, and the commonality of the Zerzets on programs that we are put through is so absurdly consistent that it is absolutely statistically impossible for these to be random event processes. And there is no one that I've spoken to now, and I've spoken to more than 100 innocent targeted individuals who are truly mentally ill. which is the cover story for whoever perpetrates these programs, which is very standard because in all totalitarian governments, the excuse that is used to cover the tracks of the abuses, the severe human, civil, and constitutional rights abuses that occurred in totalitarian regimes is always that the person is either a criminal, insane, or characterless, and this discrediting type of program has rendered this community severely, severely disabled for quite some time, and it's just another part of these horrific 21st century Zerzetsong programs. If you have any questions about what a Zerzetsong program is, please spend some time with the definition based on the 20th century rollout in East Germany by the Stasi, the secret police in East Germany. I am doing this today to request immediate legal representation so that my life can be saved. I am very, very ill from being targeted with radioactive weaponry for now a month and longer, actually. Weaponry that makes my home shake, as it is right now, makes my garden shake, and follows me throughout my community pretty much wherever I go. I also ask this on behalf of the other women who are similarly situated and men who are similarly situated, because it is without doubt the greatest crime in the history of humanity to perpetrate these horrific, torturous, mutilating, destroying, murdering programs upon innocent individuals, upon anyone, innocent or not. I also am trying very assiduously to relocate out of the United States to a domain where the United States has very little influence, because although these programs are run by many different players throughout the world, it is my personal opinion, based on the severity of my torture, the severity of the attempts to render me homeless. I was forced to move 8 times in 6 years, and other outrageous elements in my program, that my program has been perpetrated primarily first by Wall Street, at which time it was handed off to intelligence and private contractors. It's impossible for a program of this saturation to be successful without very serious intelligence planning and military-like precision. And so I'd like to remove myself from a country that believes it has the right to terminate my life, destroy my joy, destroy my social relationships, my finances, my income, my businesses, my ability to be a successful human being on this planet. I'd like to distance myself as much as possible from that country. However, because I've been rendered destitute by this horror campaign of now 20 years, I need the help of my community everywhere. And that is every single individual who sees this video today, because every single human and other life on our planet is subject to these criminally insane programs that can only be run by, I finally have determined, individuals who have what's called a dark triad personality disorder. You cannot possibly be a part of any type of program like this unless that is your issue. And there are many women who are severely perpetrated against, individuals just like this, who actually have grants to torture the women, their children, their grandchildren, for military and state security purposes. I'm striving to raise as much money as possible, as immediately as possible. My goal is to find sanctuary for myself and anyone else who would like to join me, who has been a part of these horrible, horrible, insane, and just evil programs, Zerzetsong programs. And I believe that there is safe harbor in the world, and I believe there are places in the world where we will be much, much less targeted, if at all. The goal is right now to raise about $2,000 to get me somewhere safe, because Florida is not safe at all. And I have learned it is one of the worst states perpetrators for these types of programs, and I can attest to the fact that being murdered in Florida, absolutely, it is the worst state without question. And if anyone would like to discuss with me anything about the sanctuary community, I may be reached at Annie, AniKaspar, Kaspar, @gmail.com, or at 941-356-8007. If legal counsel or human rights organizations or the UN wishes to reach me, it may at Anne, ANNE, Kaspar, Kaspar, the number 8, @gmail.com, or again at 941-356-8007. In speaking to the press now, you must cover this, and you must cover this immediately, because I can assure you that every single living human on this planet will be subject to these totalitarian programs of vast and immeasurable evil and sadistic perpetration of pain and suffering and torture and life destruction. I can assure you, every single human being will be subject to this unless we all come together, unite today, and at least try to stem a totalitarian nightmare of such dimension that there can be no greater crime against humanity perpetrated in the history of this planet. Thank you for your time. This is a sworn testimony of AniKaspar on 5/16/2017 in Sarasota, Florida. I have evidence as well as affidavits and forensics and to support my claims, as do many of the individuals that were trying to simply be delisted when this very severe attack, particularly in Florida, against my person, the leader of this group, occurred, and doesn't stop. Thank you so much for your time.